Welcome along to this higher PE presentation for the General Observation Schedule. In this presentation, you'll be told what the General Observation Schedule is, what it's used for, as well as some of the positives and negatives of using the observation schedule. Within our school, we only use the General Observation Schedule to collect physical data. The General Observation Schedule, or the GOS for short, doesn't collect data in the mental factor, the social factor, or the emotional factor. It collects data only in the physical factor, and very specifically, only the skills of the physical factor. Before we get to the ins and outs of the General Observation Schedule, I think it's important to think about why we gather data in the first place. The first reason here is, we find out which area is strong and which area is in the area of weakness. When we find out this area of weakness, we're then able to create a PDP to try and turn this area into a strength. The second reason is, it allows you to determine a starting point for a PDP, and what we mean by this is, once you're able to gather the data and look at it, you're able to see quite how poor it is. So for example, if you've got an overhead clear where you miss the shot every single time, it might be a really good point to start at to quite simple and basic practices, maybe the likes of a shadow practice or an unopposed practice, so you need to get that right for the level you're at. The next one is, it allows you to set realistic goals. You're able to collect baseline data. Use this baseline data to set where you would like to be, for example, in 3 sessions time. This would then allow you to set this by using the data in front of you and making it realistic. There's no point in plucking a number out of the air where you're trying to get to. You can use data that you've gathered to set a realistic goal. And the last one is, it allows you to monitor your PDP. I've just mentioned about baseline data. By gathering this data, you're allowed to compare, or you're encouraged to compare it when monitoring back to the first data collection to the mid data collection. That'll let you see for improvements. Also, you can still use this initial data gathering to the end point to see again any improvements made. So, the first part of the General Observation Schedule. What we can see going on in this video here is a game of badminton getting played. We're currently trying to gather data for the performer with the pink circle around them. The two guys that are playing badminton are playing a match up to 21, and they're both of a similar ability. The person in the white circle is filming the game. There's no more required at this stage. We're going to ask them to play a game in a half court, we're going to ask them to play up to 21 points, and the full match is going to be filmed. This is the first stage of a General Observation Schedule to gather data on physical skills. I'm going to let you watch the rest of the video play out before moving on to the next slide. Stage 2. Once the game's finished, what we should do next is head to the classroom, or a quiet place with no distractions would be ideal. You should take the laptop with you, and you should also take the camera to plug into the laptop. You then watch the game back and try to note down the skills. You'll be able to see this happening on the next page. This is now us on to stage 3 of the General Observation Schedule. What's required in this stage is good concentration, a quiet space with no distractions, as well as a laptop, a General Observation Schedule sheet, a pencil and a camera. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to watch the video playing of the game that we just recorded. I'm going to watch the performer playing in the pink circle. I'm going to tally mark every time that they perform a skill in badminton. Now, the list of skills that we're looking for is a serve. I'm looking for an overhead clear. We're looking for net shots. I'm looking for smashes. I'm looking for drop shots, and I'm looking for lifts. And the key is to try and grade them or give them a rating. So I need to put a tally mark under excellent, good, poor, or error every time they carry out these skills. So it's very important that I don't miss any of these skills and I'm not distracted while I do it. On this slide, I thought it would be beneficial to show you what a General Observation Schedule looked like at our school for badminton. Now, down the left hand side, you can see all of the skills listed. So you've got the serve, the overhead clear, the drop shot, the smash, you've also got the net shot and a lift. Along the top columns, you can see all the rating system. So we've got excellent, good, poor and error. And underneath each of these ratings for each skill, it can tell you what the shot should look like if it was considered to be good, whether it was excellent, poor or error. So you've got a good idea of where to place your tally mark. So every time you see a skill, you should be placing a tally mark in the correct box. At the end of collecting all of these tally marks in, you can see the area down the bottom of the sheet. This allows you to put percentages in for each of the ratings for each skill. This means that this quantitative data is very easy to analyse because it's quite straightforward in front of you. The skill with the highest errors percentage is actually your weakness, and the area with the highest percentage of excellence, well, that area is considered your strength. In the higher PE course, there's a number of different command words that will tell you how to answer an exam question. One of the most frequently used words is a describe. So for a describe, what we're looking to do is give an instruction manual or giving people instructions over the telephone of how to complete maybe a method of data collection or an approach. So for the general observation schedule, I've jotted down some thoughts about things I would include in a description answer. So the first one is, in what order would the task complete? I would have a look back through these slides and you can see the general observation getting carried out step by step. That's what you should include in your answer. What does the GOS sheet look like? Again, the previous slide before this one is actually the general observation schedule we use here at the school. Down the left hand side the skills, along the top the rating system, and at the bottom are all the percentages ready to be worked out. What equipment was required? Well, there was a camera required, there was a sheet required, there was a pencil required, there was a laptop required in order to watch the game back. These are the equipment, or this is the equipment that was required. How many people were needed for the full process? Well, there was 3. There was 2 people to play in a game and 1 person to film. That's how many. And the last answer here is, or the last question, or the last consideration, how did you find your strengths and weaknesses? This was done by placing tally marks in the correct rating system for the skills and then working out their percentages. The more or higher percentage you had in the excellent column shows an area of strength. The bigger percentage or higher percentage in a poor or error column will tell you this is a weakness that you need to work on. In the previous slide I mentioned command words. Another 2 command words that you can use in the higher PE exam is analyse and evaluate. In order to analyse and evaluate, you're required to know the positives and the negatives of approaches and methods of data collection. So let's have a think about the positives of the general observation schedule. I've listed some of these below here. When using a video, it allows the pause and rewind function to be used. That's really helpful to watch a skill over a number of times because you can rewind and watch again. You can then be certain that you're putting the tally in the right box or the right rating box because you've had a number of watches at that skill. Tally marks are used. This is very helpful because it doesn't take a time to write down a sentence. You don't have to write a paragraph in each skill you see. Placing a tally mark is quick and it's easy to do, which allows you to get back to watching the video and making sure you're getting all the skills marked down. The layout of the general observation schedule, well, the skills are down the left hand side, the ratings along the top, and that is pretty much it. There is not a fancy layout, there's not anything to analyse before you do it. Therefore, it's just placing tally marks in the correct box in order to gather reliable data. Less likely to make mistakes, data becomes more reliable. Thanks to this easy layout, that is very helpful. The data was gathered against an opponent of a similar ability. So when playing the general observation schedule, it's important that you do play against somebody of a similar ability. You're not just playing a random competitive match where you might be getting beaten badly or you beating somebody really badly. You're playing against somebody of a similar ability. That's very helpful because it means the data is going to be more reliable as it's going to show your strength and your weakness far clearer. The next positive, the data was collected over a long period of time. We didn't ask the 2 performers only to play up to 7 points. We asked them to play all the way to 21. This is ample time for the performer to play and pick up what they consider to be their strength and their weakness. Now, all the skills are on the general observation schedule. We've listed them already, so the serve, the overhead clear, the net shot, the drop shot, the smash, the lift, all the skills are there included in the general observation schedule. That's particularly handy because it makes the data you're collecting more reliable as you can actually look at a number of skills. If you're only looking at 2 skills in badminton, let's say for example the serve or the smash, you would have no idea you might have your overhead clear as particularly poor. The general observation schedule collects all of these skills all in the one sheet. You don't have to do a number of tests for each different skill, so therefore you're able to get on with your PDP a lot quicker. The last positive is here. The general observation schedule was done paper and pencil and it doesn't get lost. It's not like a computer file where it might get deleted or get lost. Therefore, it's a permanent record and you're able to use this in the monitoring process. This is called baseline data at the start. By having this baseline data, you can make comparisons at the midpoint and the end point of your PDP to check for progress. So, unfortunately, with all methods of data collection as well as approaches, there's some negatives as well. Let's have a think about the negatives just now of the general observation schedule. So the data was only collected over one game. This might have been a really good game for you, or indeed a really bad game for you. Therefore, only playing to 21 points might not be that reliable. We did say in the previous slide that 21 was quite a long game, which it is, but it is only over one match. We maybe want to play a number of matches so we can actually get more data to make it more reliable. The process relies on a video camera. Now, we all know technology can sometimes go wrong. This might have a few different issues. So, some of the negatives is you might not get all of the shots in frame. The cameraman or camera woman might miss some of your shots. There might be technical issues where actually, and this has happened a few times to us, where it runs out of battery or somebody drops the camera and it stops working. And also, it might be quite difficult actually to get a camera. Sometimes not all schools have this access to this kind of equipment. Therefore, it can definitely be a negative that a video was required in the general observation schedule. Another negative is you only are given quantitative data. You only get numbers. It doesn't explain to you maybe who you were up against or how you played when you were under pressure, maybe give you some description of what your shots look like. You're only presented with a percentage at the end, letting you know your strengths and your weaknesses. There's nothing to justify why you got that number. The last negative is you actually complete the general observation yourself a lot of the times. Now, when you do this and you watch the video back, you can be very friendly to yourself. You can rate a lot of your skills as strong or excellent, and you know that might not be quite right. In reality, there may be poor or error shots, so being very friendly to yourself is going to lead to unreliable data. It would be great if you could give this video a like and subscribe. There's also far more higher P information on our Glow page. Catch up with the next one soon.